Alright, so in this video we're going to be talking about one of the more controversial and hyped products in the lawn care industry, and of course I am talking about Hydretain. For this particular project I was sent a gallon of the Hydretain liquid and also a bag of the Hydretain granular product to try for this particular project. I wanted to actually show for a comparison. Typically when you see content that's done on Hydretain, the person doing that project or doing the content will show you an entire lawn where they've applied Hydretain and tell you how great it works. Problem with that is you don't actually get to see what happens if you don't apply Hydretain compared to an area that may have Hydretain applied to it. So I decided to do that with my own lawn this year, and I did a 3-month project on a Hydretain plot that had nothing applied to it, and then I also did a granular and a liquid side just to kind of show the results throughout the 3 months of the application of a full rate application, so I could show you exactly what I was able to find. And one more thing before I want to get into the actual project itself. The results that I'm showing you are purely anecdotal from a homeowner's perspective. I am not an agronomist. I am not a turf scientist by any stretch of the imagination, but I wanted to show you some real-world results from the project that I did in my lawn on the Kentucky bluegrass that I'm growing in the transition zone. Now, if you're familiar with cool season grasses, you'll know that Kentucky bluegrass really has no business being in the transition zone. So we're going to call this the Hydretain stress test, because some folks in the industry think that Hydretain is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and others think it's a scam. There's really no in between. Some people may be on the fence about it, but I wanted to show you the results that I had over a 3-month period. And what I decided to do was go ahead and break my 3,000 square foot yard up into 3 sections. So I measured out 23 linear feet on each section and went ahead and taped those off. From there, inside of each one of those sections, I had to decide which product I wanted to use. And so for the plot number 1, I decided to go with the granular product. And essentially with the granular product, it's very simple to apply. You simply weigh out 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet, which is simple enough. This is a 1,000 square foot section, so I weighed out 3 pounds of product, and I spread that out into the lawn evenly and went ahead and watered that in. Here in the middle of my lawn, I decided to go ahead and use this as my control. I didn't apply any Hydretain to this middle section. But as we move over to the 3rd plot, I went ahead and did the liquid. Now, when you're applying the liquid, I watered the entire lawn when I watered in the granular product. And the reason I did that is because the label instructions on the liquid Hydretain explicitly say that you need to water this onto wet grass and then also water it in by 1/2 inches after you've applied the product. So I went ahead and per the label, I measured out 9 ounces of product into a hose end sprayer, and I sprayed that out over the 1,000 square foot section, and then I watered it in again. So I just watered the whole lawn a final time to make sure I get that 1/2 inch down so that the granular product gets watered in and also the liquid product gets watered in as well. Now from here, this is essentially a slow play, so we're looking at this in a 3-month period. And I decided to take some pictures and document some things that I was seeing in the lawn at the 30, 60, and 90-day periods. Now at the 30-day period, I was seeing a little bit of separation between the 3 plots, not a whole lot. The granular and the liquid Hydretain applied areas were doing very well. The non-applied or controlled area was doing pretty well as well, although I was seeing just a little bit of heat stress going on because we did have a very hot June. It was hotter than normal. In the month of June, we had about 10 days over 90 degrees, which is a little bit abnormal, and it's definitely stressful on the Kentucky bluegrass. So I did see some localized dry spots popping up in the areas where I did not apply the hydrotain. And then jumping over to the 60-day period, now this is where we started to see a little bit more separation. I was seeing stress in all 3 plots. However, the control area, I was seeing a lot more stress. This was, again, now this is July, and we are having a hot and dry July. We're actually in full drought conditions. And so one thing I should mention about this project too is my lawn is irrigated. I was watering twice per week at 40 minutes per zone, which would give me roughly 1 inch of water per month. So unfortunately in this project, I wasn't really able to back off the water like I wanted to, because Hydretain does claim that you can use less water to water your grass. However, keep in mind, I am growing a very water-hungry turf type in a place where the heat and the drought stress is a little bit more strenuous than it would be, say, up north where Kentucky bluegrass is typically grown. So for this project, I went ahead and I continued with my 1 inch of irrigation just because I wasn't getting any supplemental rain at the same time. Here we are at around the 90-day period. I started this project in mid-May, so that puts us into mid-August for a 90-day period, which is how long Hydretain claims that it is effective if you apply the full rate. So mid-August, this is definitely the time when everything is stressed more than it is in the entire year. This is the month where the turf grass definitely shows its true colors when it comes to stress and drought response. But as we're looking at this lawn, all 3 plots are definitely having some issues. It's very typical of Kentucky bluegrass to have summer patch, especially if you have a low mode, high maintenance type of lawn like I do. The Kentucky bluegrass is far more susceptible to summer patch. But what I'm noticing in these areas is that there's not a lot of drought stress going on in all 3 of the plots, which is interesting, but there's a lot more of the summer patch and the stress issues that are going on in the middle of the lawn. And since I noticed these things, I was interested to find out why. If you Google Hydretain and you look at any studies that have been done on it, of course there's a lot of studies about the conservation of water, but there's also some studies that have come out recently about nutrient uptake and how Hydretain assists with the nutrient uptake because it is encapsulating water in the root zone. It does allow the turf grass to efficiently use more of the nutrients that you're giving it, which would be your NPK, your micros, so your macros and your micros, but then also anything else that you apply to the lawn as far as fungicides. And so that's one thing that I was really found interesting about this whole project is that the fungicides that I'm using have to be watered in. So if you're attacking summer patch, you definitely want to water that in and get it down into the root zone because that is a root-borne illness. So what I'm curious about is that if the Hydretain actually helps the areas that did have the application more effectively use and systemically use those fungicides that I applied to the turf grass, because in the area in the middle that didn't get any Hydretain definitely is far worse than the areas that did get the Hydretain applied to it. In order to take this a step further, I decided to take some plugs because I wanted to see what the roots look like. Because generally, if you can get a snapshot of the roots, you have a better idea of what's going on under the surface. So I got the Pro Plugger out and I took plugs in each section. I took a plug out of the granular section, I took a plug out of the control, and then I also took a plug out of the liquid section because I wanted to see what the roots look like. And really, to no surprise, you can see that the roots in the center section, in the control section, were definitely longer. And I know what you're thinking is, well, aren't deep roots better? Not in every case. A lot of times if you have really deep roots, it means that your roots are searching for water, so they try to push down deeper into the ground, which is a little bit more stressful on the plant. Now, on the 2 sides that had the granular and the liquid application, you could see that the roots aren't quite as long, but the density of the roots were far greater than the area in the middle that is the control. And so what I'm assuming is going on here is that the 2 areas that had the Hydretain applied really didn't have to go down, the roots didn't have to dig deep to find water because the Hydretain was able to alleviate a little bit of that stress where it kept some of the water in those areas a little bit better than, say, the area that was the control, where the roots were really trying to dive down and search for water. And why this is so important for a lot of cool season grasses is because you naturally have a decline of root mass in the summer. So if the roots aren't constantly trying to dig down and search for water, generally it's going to be a lot less stressful on the plant, and you can see from these examples that these 2 treated areas actually look really good. So what do we make of all of this? everything that we've seen from these 3 Hydretain plots, I can definitely say that the control plot looks significantly worse than the 2 Hydretain plots. And the roots do look a lot different by comparison. There's much more root mass. I think the turf grass looks a lot healthier in those areas, although I don't necessarily think it looks great, but it looks better than the control area by far. So is Hydretain a miracle product? By no stretch of the imagination, no, it's not a miracle product. If I had the right plant in the right place, definitely not going to save you from that scenario. Make sure that you're always planting the right turf grass for your particular situation. I can confidently say that Hydretain is not a scam. It's something that I continually use in my program year over year, just because I do think it gives me a little bit of advantage, especially where I live, where stress mitigation is typically the name of the game. It's what my entire turf program here is designed around, is trying to mitigate stress, because here in the Midwest we can grow any grass type that you can imagine. We just can't grow any of them very well. I hope you're able to take this video for what it's worth and be lighthearted about it. By no means is Hydretain a miracle product. However, I would say that it definitely works as advertised. It does help you manage moisture in the ground. It does not pull moisture from the air. It doesn't take the humidity that's all around you and pull it down into the ground. It's not the way it works. You have to have some sort of moisture present in the soil for it to actually work. It helps you stretch the use of the water that you're actually using. And in this case, maybe it even helps a little bit in the way of your applications, whether those are nutrients or fungicides or any other types of products that you're applying to your lawn. It makes them work more efficiently. So I hope you guys like this video. I definitely appreciate you stopping by. Don't forget to give me a like, subscribe to the channel, leave me some comments in the comment section if you use Hydretain, if you like it, if you haven't ever used it before, maybe you're considering using it. Is it absolutely necessary in your program? Probably not, although I do think it is a nice value add if you're wanting to increase the level of quality in the turf grass that you have in your lawn. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.